pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, once again, to this board meeting, as we've done in the past, we always have students that are here to be celebrated. And we get to recognize some of their achievements and what they've done. So to begin with, I'm going to ask Bob Benoit if he would come forward and introduce his 5A Bowling State Championship team. Welcome, Coach. Oh, just right here is great if you'd like.
Well, first of all, we had a great year this year. This is only my second year coaching at Seaman. Last year we made the state. We didn't do quite as well as we thought we would, but this year we had sophomores and 3 seniors on the boys team. And we had an awesome year. We went to Free State this year, and the JV boys and girls won, and the varsity boys and girls won. They said that's the first time any school has ever come in there and swept the Free State. And they said they didn't want us back next year. And if they did, we did come back, they were going to charge us. Then we also, we were undefeated on the boys team until we went into Manhattan. And they did not win there, and they didn't win the next week. But we had a record of 10-2 for the boys. They had a phenomenal year. They won their Centennial League, they won their regionals, and they also won state. And they really worked their rear ends off this year. We practiced from 3:30 to 5 every day. They would also call me after leagues at night, and we'd go back and practice from 8 to 10 or 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And they would call me and ask me to meet them there. So they put a lot of hard work into it, and they really deserved what they did this year. So I'd like to have Sturgis Streeter come up. He has a certificate of outstanding achievement here. He's one of our sophomores. Congratulations, Sturgis. And then Trent Turkin. He's also a sophomore. And DJ Birkenbaugh. He's also a sophomore. These 3 boys also made the varsity last year as freshmen also. Now we got the ones that, this is where it's kind of bittersweet. These are our seniors. I wish we could keep them for 3 more years, but unfortunately we can't. Kobe Orr. This was Kobe's first year full-time on the team, and ended up coming back at the right time to win the. He's also talking about going to Kansas Wesleyan to bowl there for them also. Cody Machino, he's also a senior. He is already signed with Kansas Wesleyan to continue his bowling career. Noah Belt. And the last I heard, Noah was thinking about going to Barton. Is that still true?
No, I think that I'm most likely going to go to Washburn and actually do debate for them.
Oh, okay.
That's where me and my opportunity lies.
Cool. But these are our 3 seniors, these are our 3 sophomores, and they're the ones that happen to win the state this year.
And I'd like to introduce your assistant coach, Mark Anderson.
Yeah, this is Mark. He's the assistant coach.
He did everything. But here's the state championship trophy, and these never get old. These are wonderful pieces of hardware that we display proudly in our building. So congratulations, guys. And coaches.
Can we get a picture and kind of scoot in a little bit? Brad, get in there too.
And our girls were runners up. We'll work on them a little next year.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
And out of our girls team, we do have 3 senior girls leaving. Caitlin Charity, she did sign with Morningside in Iowa. And Brooke Prescott, she signed with Baker. And Brianna Evans, she is signing with Nebraska in November. So all of them are going to go on the bowl.
So, Coach, on behalf of the Board of Education, I present this to you. This certificate is proudly presented for honorable achievement to 5A bowling state champions, Seaman High School bowling team. Awarded this day is April 8, 2019. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We can get a
Thank
picture.
you. Yeah, we can get a picture.
We're very proud of our student athletes. Great job.
I would stay longer, but I have to go right back to work.
Now I get the honor to introduce our Teachers of the Year and present them with the certificate. I'm going to come back around. I'm not sure what order these are in, but we'll find out. Well, our Teachers of the Year are obviously selected and recognized by their peers as being the teacher for that building. And we know all of our teachers work very hard, and I always tell everybody that we have the best teachers in our Seaman School District, and I really believe that. So those that we're recognizing tonight are even the, what I would call the cream of the crop. So the best of the best. So the first I have is Karen DiLeonardo. Karen? Both sides. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay. Next one I have is Crystal Johnson. Thank you. Okay, next is Cassie Geis. Mike's in the back.
Thank you.
Very good. And Christy Becker.
Let's get back there.
Okay. We can do this. All right. Chad Euler.
He was in
Chad, last one. Emily McConaughey. Thank you. And our last, but certainly not least, is Brittany Lilly. Congratulations. Let's appreciate them all. Well, this is the front. Okay, next I would like to ask Mr. Bernie Tuck if he will come and introduce the 200 Freestyle State Championship.
All right. This year we had competed again. Obviously, boys 5 through 1A state champion state meet, and this year Josh Florence finished first in the 200 freestyle. A little bit about Josh. I've now had the pleasure of coaching him for the last 2 years. The thing to know about Josh, though, is he's one of those individuals that everybody's heard the saying that actions speak louder than words, and Josh is a true example of that. He would lead by example. just having him in the water and working with him every day in the pool, kids just worked harder and wanted to be better when Josh was there and worked in the pool. So Josh this year has received several accolades, including All-City recognition, All-League recognition, and All-State recognition. And he's planning to go swim at South Dakota State at the collegiate level next year. And I could not be happier for him and wish him the best of luck. So,
Congratulations.
Does that say 1:43 is your time?
Yes.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That is very impressive. 103 time.
Okay, very good. Next item on our agenda is President's remarks. I'm talking about the NSBA update. All the board members attended our National School Board Association conference, and I would like to ask each one to share something that they would like to share about the conference. And we're going to start down here with Mr. Adams.
So I've said this before in open session. I didn't know that was coming, but I'm actually prepared.
But you're
for my
always
response.
prepared, James.
I'm a strong believer in our continuing education that we do as board members. We're volunteers. We're not paid. We're just you all up here. So going to these conventions that we do, it does cost money. It costs taxpayer money to send us to these things. But we take that very seriously and I think leverage that to its fullest opportunity to see issues at the national level. That it's honestly a nice chance to go and just reaffirm what we're already doing in some cases. Sometimes we learn a lot of new things. We always have tremendous speakers, so those are always a nice thing to be a part of. But it's also, the biggest thing that I get out of it is a chance to be with these folks right here, who I consider my friends, who we do, I think, really hard work in this district and important work. We have a large budget to manage. We have a lot of things going on. We have a large student body operation. We're a large employer in this community. And to be able to talk the way we can at those things is priceless. So I hope you support that as well. I'm a big believer in it, and will yield my time to the rest of you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Well, definitely, I don't want to copy what you say. I'm just going to echo a little bit about what James said, which is that there is, with this conference, the good part is there's a lot of validation that what you all are doing, what we're doing as a district, we are on the right track. So that's, when you're in a conference setting, people are going, oh gosh, I wish we would do that. I'm like, yeah, we're doing that. That's a good feeling. I think particularly with what the direction that we've gone with early childhood, with the Mathis Early Learning Center, certainly with the social emotional learning, that is the right direction. We are on the right path. The one thing I wanted to share that was very interesting was I saw a screening of the documentary Screenagers. It is something that we're in discussion that we think would be very valuable for parents and students, not just in the SEMA district, but across Shawnee County, could really benefit from having some serious discussions about the different platforms that children have screens in front of them, first and foremost, of course, social media. And again, we're doing a lot to address those issues as well through digital citizenship and SEL, but obviously there's a lot more that we can be doing. So those were my biggest takeaways.
Thank you. Dr. Morrow, did you want to share now?
I'll yield my time to the board.
Okay. Mr. Van.
Well, I would echo what they say. It's a great opportunity for us to work together to visit with not only ourselves, but school board members across the state and nation. For the staff, I think they usually worry that we go to these and we come back with some grand idea that we make them implement. And I don't know that we have anything this year, so we might have we haven't figured that out yet. But I remember, it's been years now, but we came back and we're like, we're going to have iPads and laptops, and yeah, how about we do it in a couple weeks? I mean, we didn't give them much time to figure it out. So there's always good things going on that we learn and bring back, and it's a good experience, and I'm glad we could go.
Yeah, and I'll echo, especially what James said down there, it's an absolute tremendous opportunity for us to help us improve so we can do better for you and the community. The presentations, it gives us the opportunity to really reflect on what we're doing, and maybe find that little thing that we're missing, and hopefully we can plug it in some way or another. But I want to add to another day of that didn't take place at the conference itself. It was when our accreditation team was in here, and I come in early and sat in on the student advisory council, and I was so completely impressed with those kids that what teachers are in here, you guys are doing the right thing. Because I was really, really impressed with the grade school kids, the middle school kids, and the seniors. And I learned as much from that little discussion in 45 minutes as I probably could have learned at the conference itself. But it also, again, validates a lot of the good things that we're doing here in the school district. And it makes me very proud to be a part of it.
I would say my best memory of the conference, Mr. Henderson, would have to be twofold. One was a closing ceremony given by the mother of a 7-year-old who was wrongfully taken away from us at a school shooting. That was very deep and impactful. It really makes you think of priorities. My second best class was how to deal with negative people without becoming negative yourself. And think about that. It can happen pretty easily. You can get vacuumed into a portal. As long as you stay positive, and we as a board, I think, in conjunction with the trip, are developing relationships to where we feel comfortable speaking to each other. Because for those of you that don't, we can't really speak about anything other than non-school board stuff when we see each other. And not that we go down there and speak about stuff, that's not what I'm implying. I'm implying, as Apple Hands, I didn't have much of a relationship with her before this, but I feel like it's ground. And Sherry, just the camaraderie to keep negativity down, it is absolutely critical.
All right, well, I don't want to be negative here, but I think one of the challenges as a board member in the senior district is that we are a great district, and so how do we keep pushing to be even better and not be complacent? And one of the things that really stuck with me was an HR speaker who talked about how 87% of recent graduates feel prepared for their jobs, but only 50% of managers feel like they are prepared for their jobs, like that those kids are prepared for their jobs. And so I think just building those strong relationships between education and industry and finding the right balance of skills and work readiness is really a challenge for our district and everyone else. And then on a personal note, we know that Mr. Henderson is a leader here and in the state school board association, but he's also a leader in the National School Board Association. So there's a lot of pride for us to have our school board president on this big stage representing Kansas and Seaman.
Well, I can second everything that was said. It was a great conference, great workshops, and I guess one of the things that I really try to gain is look for those things that we may not be doing as well, and kind of look for where we may have students falling through the cracks or students that are going unnoticed, and trying to figure out how we can better reach those students and be able to serve every student. I too was with Carl when the assessment team was here the other day, and the students were talking. Very, very impressive. Even the words and the language that our elementary students were using was very insightful and was very enlightening. So, yeah, teachers, directors, you guys are doing a great job. Now, one of the things that I want to show is a video, and this is from the national conference, just to give you a little bit of story about this. I have talked the last several months about the IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and how we are making it a priority with the National School Board Association to get the full funding for that. Congress promised us, they committed to 40% of the excess cost to educate students with disabilities. Presently, that's about 16%. In January, when I was back there and met with our legislative delegation, I asked Senator Roberts, are you going to be able to get this done before you go? Because he's retiring. And he said, yeah, I think we can do it. And I didn't know if he would or not, but last week he actually co-sponsored a piece of legislation in the Senate, and there's one in the House as well that will bring the IDA match up to the full 40% over a number of years. So I'm hoping that that happens. And this is just a video that we did at the National School Board Association to talk about why IDA is so important and so critical to every student. So if we can play that now, thank you.
How can we provide every student in our public schools with the same opportunities and also make sure those that need extra support get it? Far too often, a student is deprived of equitable educational opportunities because of race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, or a disability. Wouldn't it be nice if we could support all students, no matter their backgrounds or circumstances? In our public school districts, we serve more than 50 million students with differing needs. Each year, more than 6 million students receive special education services. And public schools are doing everything possible to support these students. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, works. The record is clear. There are better educational outcomes for IDEA students when they receive the support they need. Imagine what is possible if IDEA were fully funded. Early interventions to better serve students, more and better trained teachers, as well as being able to communicate with families more effectively. The federal government is not providing the support to students who need the extra help. Reauthorization is long overdue, and Congress must meet the promise it made to families who have extra educational needs. If the supports are there, these students will thrive. It's time for Congress to fulfill its obligation, reauthorize, and fully fund IDEA.
So I would encourage you to send a note or make a call to Congressman Watkins' office or Senator Moran and Senator Roberts and tell them that I urge you to support full funding for IDEA.
Can I add something?
Yes.
I had 3 people who came up to me at the school board conference who said that, that Senator Roberts has been in office for decades, so he could have made this push any number of years, but it was really because of Mr. Henderson's advocacy and what happened in DC. I had other board members from around the country telling me that that was because of your relationship with Senator Roberts and because of things that you had done personally. I meant to tell you that, but I'll just tell everyone that. So I thought that was very impressive. I don't know what happened in that meeting, but it seemed to work. So.
Well, thanks for I can't take credit for that, but,
well, other people
but we
are
did talk to him, and we kind of razzed him a little bit and encouraged him to go out with the big win. So, thanks. Okay, Dr. Noble.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. I just will say one thing that we see a lot of our colleagues from Kansas that are there. This year was in Philadelphia, both superintendent colleagues and board member colleagues. But I don't recall anyone from Kansas taking all 7 of their board members to the national conference. It was just a tremendous showing, and I think it's representative of our board's commitment to our kids, and to our staff, and to our community to do not only what's best locally, but also to enter into that continuous improvement effort as a collective board. So thank you, all 7 of you, for continued championing for our kids, kids of all of Kansas and really all the nation. With that, I'll say, one of the things that we celebrate here at the end of the year are our graduation and promotion exercises that sort of culminate all that our kids have done in this stage of their life, whether that's a finishing an elementary stage of their life or a middle school stage of their life or graduating from high school and moving on to post-secondary. So the dates are before you and on the board agenda. For those dates, as always, the entire board is invited and usually does attend the high school graduation and the 8th grade promotion on those dates. The high school graduation date's not noted here. I should just know that off the top of my head because I'm not here. What day is that?
May 19th.
May 19th, thank you. May 19th is the high school graduation. What we've typically done then for the elementaries is we've divided and conquered that effort. So what you'll be getting from Teresa is a sort of a sign-up sheet from you all as to which board members will be at which at your particular chosen elementary promotions. Certainly you don't need to attend all of them, but you're welcome to. In fact, it's nearly impossible to attend all of them. It's practically impossible. We can't divide you into 3 different people for Elmont, Northern Hills, and Weston all on the same day at the same time. So divide and conquer those. Teresa will get that out to you all, and you can just respond to her Google Doc that way for that assignment for those. Any questions for me on promotions? Graduations? Okay. And my last comment is we have received a Historic Preservation Award from the Shawnee County Historical Society for your commitment, our district's efforts to reuse and preserve what was the Lyman building, the Lyman Learning Center, now the Mathis Early Learning Center. And so we're excited to announce that. And there is a ceremony on May the 9th at 7 p.m. at the Trainer Architect Building. The address is there in your board notes. And you'll be receiving more information from Teresa about that as we move forward to receive that award. So we'll know that. That's all I've got.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Noble. Okay, now it's the time for members of the audience that would like to speak and address the board to come forward, state your name and address. And this is an opportunity to address the board. Is there anyone that would like to address the board tonight? Good evening. I think it looks like it's on. Okay.
My name is Jake Farrant from Meriden, Kansas. I own a company called Kansas Turf. So naturally, I'm here to sell you guys a turf field. Of course. I want to tell you why I'm here. My grandfather, Frank Farrant, sat up there for many years. I went to Pleasant Hill Elementary School. I went to Northern Hills until the PE teacher kicked me out. Mr. Bushnell there. Due to divorce, I moved up north to Jefferson West High School and graduated there. My younger brother Bryce is over there. He also went to Pleasant Hill. Kansas Turf, for those of you who do not know. So we started, the Farrant family has some other businesses in town, golf courses, sod farms. So Bryce and I grew up in a family business. We decided we wanted to make more than $6.75 an hour, so we started our own company called Kansas Turf. We have worked in, I believe, 41 states now. We have projects in New York, Alaska for 2 years. We've been in San Francisco right now. Currently, we have 18 projects going on, grossing over $44 million. We have projects with the University of Missouri, New England Patriots, KU, K-State. The list goes on, but I am here tonight because this is home. It's that simple. What we do and why we love what we do is it's about passion. And passion, when you talk about passion, it gets right into sports. And I'm a big, big supporter of anything extracurricular for students, for kids. But when you start talking about sports, and you start talking about sports services, there is so much passion that goes in between parents and coaches and school board members. And we get filled with that on a daily basis. And that's why we love what we do. So this project kind of touches home for me for a couple different reasons. One, I mentioned our natural ties here and why we want to stay home here and complete this project. just right off the top, so Special Olympics, that's actually been in the news a little bit lately. So Topeka is divided up, and there's the Washburn Rule team. Is anybody here involved in Special Olympics by chance? No? Okay, so Topeka is divided up in two different teams. There's Washburn Rule, and then there's the North team. Okay, so like North Topeka. So Washburn Rule, they get outfitted. They have, if you go to any of their track meets or basketball games or anything else, they're outfitted from head to toe. They have the running suits, they have the bags, they have the sweats. The North team, not so much. And where the North team practices, we don't find fields up north. So we practice, I think, Thursday nights at Topeka West. We practice at Shawnee Heights. We practice at Jeff West. A guy put a turf field in up there. But we have a hard time finding places to practice. You know, and Bryce and I's youngest brother is a part of the Special Olympics team there. Once again, I'm just referring back to passion. And this is not, I'm here to answer questions if anybody happens to have them about why turf lasts as long as it does, or how many, the difference between monofilm and slip film. But really we need to stick to the people that are here, and they have passion, and they want to get something done here. And I'm just looking around the room, and there's a couple things that are hanging on the wall here. There's an American flag, and there's a picture of your baseball stadium, and a picture of your football stadium. We see that day in and day out, no matter where we go. It doesn't matter if you're in McLeod, Kansas, or if you're in New York City or San Francisco. Sports fields are the front porch of school districts because of passion. That's what the district puts their energy into, and it's what parents invest a lot of time into. And I get it. I get that it's a lot of money. But, and I've been to these board meetings where we talk about money should be delegated. You know, we need books, we need raises, we need this done to our facilities. But I promise you, there's no better investment into your community and into your kids than a sports field built by us, preferably, but if you want to hire I don't know if I get to answer questions here, or I need to just go sit down. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Steve Bushnell, and I'm a district employee, and I've taught in the Stevens School District for 28 years. And I know there's a groundswell of support for the soccer field and the turf that Jake has spoken about. And I'm simply here tonight to follow up on what you guys have touched on and what we've seen here in the school board meeting already, and what I've had an opportunity to witness as a patron in the district, a parent in the district, a coach and a teacher in the district for 28 years. And I've always been of the belief that we've always pushed the limit. We've always been on the forefront. And that's what I think is so unique about Seaman. And just the passion that Jake spoke about. I'm here to just voice my support for the project. And I think that this would be a win-win situation for our entire district, not just the kids that are involved in soccer specifically. And I looked up some numbers, and I know we have 42 boys that played soccer this year, and 37 girls that are involved in the program. You're looking at a group of about 80 kids that are involved in our soccer program. And the one thing that's really unique about our soccer program that's different from all the other sport programs that we have here at Seaman is there are 2 varsity sports that play on that facility. It's a 2-fold season. And the amount of traffic that would take place, the amount of hours that would be spent out there is a tremendous amount of hours when you're looking at varsity and JV competitions. You've got 8 or 9 varsity competitions split into 2 games each night. The number of kids and the number of people that's going to impact, not only in the fall boys season, but in the girls spring season. It's just a tremendous amount of hours. And I know the difficulty in maintaining a natural grass facility from being involved in those over the years. And I've been involved in coaching football at the high school level. I was part of the high school staff when it went from grass to turf, and I saw the benefits of what that did, not only for our district as a football program, but just a multi-purpose program and what it's been able to do for our band, for our track and field programs, for our PE programs, for the entire district to be able to have that facility at Siemens Stadium. It's just been tremendous. I've been involved in the the middle school football staff, and have seen what that field at Siemens Middle School has been able to do for our sport programs and PE programs and track and field programs. It's just really what it is today that I think pushes everything to the forefront. And what we're asking and what we would hope that you guys would consider as our school board to get behind this project and support it just like you have everything else that's come across your desk. You guys are leaders, and I know that people look up to you, and you simply want to gather as much information and have as much knowledge about it as you can. And I would tell you, speaking on behalf of our baseball program and knowing what it's done for us since we've had the turf on our infield since 2015. This will be our 5th season on turf. To me, we're always going to play our 20 regular season games and have a chance to host a regional and play C-team games and JV games and varsity games, get in excess of 40 plus games in the spring season out there that will touch 40 different students. But as far as the games, you can't put a value on the number of practices that we have. In the 60 plus practices that we have during the course of our spring season, there are very few days that we're not on that field. And every day that we're on that field, that it's rained that day or that it's sub 40 degrees, and I'm on that field with 40 guys, to me, we have an advantage over our opponents because I know they're not outside practicing. They're not on the sport field. And to me, that gives our kids and that gives us an advantage that a lot of places don't have the opportunity to do. And I definitely don't take that for granted. And I would just ask that our community and our staff, I can't speak for Mr. Monahan and Mr. Deeds and everybody else at the high school, but I just think it would be a tremendous asset if we could add that to the many fine things that we've done in our district throughout the years. And I'm in total support of that program and just wanted to share that with you. And I would ask for your support in that regard also. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else?
My name's April Coulter, and I just wanted to let you guys know that my daughter's a freshman that plays soccer at Siemens, and that they've only been on the field that they play on one time for practice this year. I didn't know if you guys were aware of that or not, but I think it's important that they get to practice on the field that they play games on, just like Steve said. It makes us more competitive, and it makes our soccer program maybe more kids want to be a part of it, the better it is.
Thank you, April.
Can't see you.
Sure, just for the record.
Just for the record.
Yeah.
I'm sure y'all know me. You'll be probably glad when this is over. My name is Gina Menser, and I would like to present to the Siemens School Board District a check in the amount of $229,700 in sponsorship that we have received in the last 30 days. I think this shows that the Siemens community is in favor of this happening. All we had to do is contact businesses, Siemens families, and individuals to request donation towards the turf fund. I'm not saying it has been easy. But do you know how hard it is to get people to give up their hard-earned money? But yet they did it. This shows that the Siemens community can come together when there is a need for our students and athletes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gina. Gina, that's a lot of money. Thank you for your diligence on that. That's a tremendous amount of money. I know you put in, I don't know how many hours in getting that accomplished, but Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, anyone else want to address the board tonight? Okay, moving on then to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Noble, do you have any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Directors, board members? I'll entertain a motion then for adoption of the agenda. So moved by Mr. Patton, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Carl. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the agenda tonight is adopted. Next item, disposition of business by consent.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Okay, motion by James. Second by Keith. All right, very good. Okay, any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, the consent agenda is adopted. Okay, next we are to discussion items. First item for discussion, teaching and learning report. Come on up.
Just want to highlight two things in the teaching and learning report from the elementary perspective. The kindergarten orientations are listed. Those will be coming up on Thursday, April 25th, and Friday, April 26th. The times and the locations for those are in your board report. And also wanted to just touch base about summer school programs. We are moving the Title I and ESY programs back to Logan this summer. There's no more construction there, so going back to Logan. And then also operating the free meals during lunch. We'll serve about 115 students in those two combined programs this summer. Mrs. Saunders will be the supervising principal taking care of that summer school program. And then the non-title Jumpstart programs are also during the same week, and those timeframes are July 15th through July 26th. That's also a little write-up in your packet. And that's all I have. I'll report on our KISA OBT accreditation report next month. By then, the team will be able to give us our formalized feedback, but overall, the day went really, really well. I think they were really impressed with our team and all the hard work that we had done. So that was really well. Thank you.
Good evening. I just wanted to highlight a celebration which is on page 4, and that is the increase in participation in our blended learning program for our teachers. Next year, we'll be entering our 4th year of blended learning in the district, and we have doubled our participation rate with teachers. We'll be accepting 50 new teachers into our blended learning program. To accommodate that, we are doubling the boot camps that we're offering in the summer and the number of professional learning days for them throughout the year. But I really just think this is a celebration because it's definitely aligned with our strategic plan of personalizing education and giving teachers tools to give students choice in their learning through their pace, their place, their path, or their time in the learning environment. So very exciting, and I look forward to working with teachers, and I know the rest of the teaching and learning team does as well.
Excellent, thank you.
I will wrap up the teaching and learning report with just highlighting continued student achievements from plays to academic endeavors. Then our juniors and our seniors took their ACT exam. Despite the snow day, we were able to persevere and finish that commitment. Then we've got our civic engagement leadership. Our students have presented with regards to the work that we do at CETA. And of course, FBLA continues to have a strong showing at competitions. And then finally, today we just wrapped up a PD session with teachers. And in our report, you'll be able to see the various of topics that we addressed about engagement, personalization. The big topic was engagement, personalization, culturally relevant pedagogy. It was just a broad range of topics that our teachers were able to select from. So that wraps up that portion of the report. So moving on to, I believe it's our calendar.
Correct.
All right, so in the board report, you're going to have two documents. One outlining the process that we use for the 2020-2021 calendar. The recommendation is that we adopt the calendar that's submitted to you for 2020-2021. The only thing that is discrepant is homecoming is still not established. But we did place a placeholder
for that day, as it is early release, and we needed to be able to account for that when we were estimating hours our students are in school. So as you can see, the process engaged, bringing several community members into the process. We created 4 different versions of the calendar from scratch. We were provided parameters that are both in the master agreement and then non-negotiables with regards to how much time and how many professional development days. And once we created those 4 calendars, the calendar committee narrowed it down to 2, and that was sent out to the entire staff for their voting. And you can see some data there, analytics on responses from staff. So this is just submitted for your review, and I will be asking you to approve this calendar next month. Questions? All right, and I'm still on.
You are.
Moving on to student-led conferences. This is the first year, I need to press this button. This is the first year that we initiated student-led conferences. They are in line with our mission statement and with the interpersonal, and cognitive factors that we're trying to promote in our district. As a matter of fact, this tool was one of the tools we used when the process started with our students and staff. And this was kind of a guiding statement that we were using. If you want to something you've never had, you must be willing to do something that you've never done. And certainly student-led conferences at the secondary level was one of those. So when you think of student conferences in the past, and parent-teacher conferences, you see a conversation like this one, in which the most important person in the room was missing. And so what we wanted to do was make sure we invited the most important person in the room to participate, and participated in an active role, one in which, as one of our students in the OBT visit said, you know, I've never really understood my goals until I said them out loud. And once I said them out loud, they felt real. This is a student saying that when this idea first surfaced for them, they were not buying into it. However, after going through the process, they understood the relevancy of the process. Now, what it took was a group of educators and students coming together to identify why it would be important for students to lead their conferences. So we engaged with students from each grade level, as well as we tried to bring multiple perspectives, and so we had representation of different student voice. After we held our student-led conference, we also asked feedback from parents. And we sent it out to over 800 families, I believe was the number. And we've got 96 responses. This is the grade level representation for those responses. So 39 parents for 9th graders, 37 for, 32, I'm sorry, for 10th graders, 34 for 11th graders, and a sprinkling of seniors. We identified between 2 categories, parents who were able to attend and not able to attend. We wanted to identify what barriers were there for parents not attending so that we would be able to address them in the future. And then after that, we looked at the parents who were able to attend and asked for some feedback in the area of the topics the students were presented. We used a Likert scale with a forced response, meaning no neutral. They either had to agree or disagree. So first question related to relevancy to students' future. Next question, they had learned something new about their students' plan. The next question, the format. The presentation being engaging. Now, what parent would have said no, right? So that's kind of a tricky question. And then we had to
a session for parents to be able to address individual needs with individual teachers, and we wanted to make sure that they were able to address those. Finally, there was an open-ended question in which we were asking for topics they wish would have been there, and this synthesizes those topics. This is the attendance rate for our conference. And in conversation with Mr. Monahan, he has shared with me that in the past, attendance at this part of the school year hovers around the 20%. So we had about over 50% of our families side by side with our students. And how I connect with this is if we think of athletic events, our parents are showing up for the athletic events of their student athletes. They already know they play the sport they play. They already know they excel in the sport, and we're showing up to show support. And I think the same should be said about the academic endeavors and future post-secondary plans of our students. Just like we show up to see them play the sport, we've seen them show up, and we go to every game, we can also show up for those academic and post-secondary plans as well. That's kind of how I see this picture. Our next step. The driving team for this enterprise was packed, the principals, advocates, and counselors with students. And so we need to bring this data back to that team and analyze and see what it says to us and what our next plans should be. So I've synthesized it for you, but it's not been in front of that team so that we can understand what it means for us moving forward. Yes, ma'am?
Are we asking what the students think of the process as well?
Mr. Monahan sent out a survey asking teachers and feedback from students, so that piece is also yet to be kind of put together. Okay. However, the students were asked at the OVT visit, and we got good feedback there. Any other questions? Am I still on?
You're still on.
Oh, I am. Which one is it now?
Me.
Oh, yes. Very good. And
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about our proposed schedule for next year. This year we jumped into a schedule making some changes based on going through the MTSS process, looking at ways that we could meet the individual needs of our students. And we went out and we visited some schools last year, got some ideas, and jumped in and did an implementation this year. Highlights from this year's schedules: we had a biking day that met on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And we had seminar days that met on Wednesdays. Our biking time for our 7th graders occurred during 4th hour. For our 8th graders, it occurred during 6th hour. And on seminar days, they attended their non-biking time class, and we had 4th and 6th hour at the same time. Seminar went from a daily occurrence to once a week once our schedule got into place. It was a lot of work. It was a lot for our teachers. It was a lot for the adults in the building. We didn't always know where we were, or what time it was, or what class we were going to, or where we were headed, but we did it. And we learned a lot from just jumping in and trying it. And I think we always try to tell our kids that you learn the most when you make mistakes, so then you can, reflect and gather. And so we did that same thing. We took some time to reflect and gather, look at some more schedules that are out there. And so we have come up with a proposed schedule for next year that will hopefully make life a little bit easier. We are going to have one schedule, and it's going to run every day. And so we are looking at continuing with our 46-minute class periods. That aligns with Shawnee Heights Middle School, it aligns with Washburn Rural Middle School, and a lot of other schools that we've looked at. This year we had gone from our 5-minute passing time to our 4-minute, and it was a struggle to get used to it. But the students are doing that, they still wait until that 1 minute music comes on, and then they scatter. So I don't think it matters if we have 10 minutes in between class or 4 minutes. When that 1 minute bell and the music starts, we all start to move. So we are looking at first and second hour being at 46 minutes. And then if you look between our second and third hour, you'll see that we have a 5-minute passing period. That is to accommodate our second chance breakfast. Last year, our PE department attended Fuel Up to Play 60 training at Arrowhead Stadium and came back with ideas on how to increase the health and wellness at Seaman Middle School. One of the big ideas was to offer second chance breakfast. The high school had started that program, and so we wanted to offer it. It is really evident middle school kids are not hungry first thing in the morning. And so our before school breakfast numbers set between 20 to 30 every morning. But yet by mid-morning, adolescents are hungry, and they're really hungry. And sometimes if they're left to their own device, they won't choose the best things to eat. So our second chance breakfast, our PE teachers worked with our food service, and we were able to get our second chance breakfast off the ground. We thought it would be kind of a novelty and kids would like it for a while and then it would die down, and that's not the case. Last week, 2 days in a row, we hit record numbers. So in over a year's time, it continues to show an increase in numbers. They served 181 second chance breakfasts in that 4-minute passing time. That's a lot of moving and shaking. And the kids use that as their pass to class. So if they are a little bit late, especially on those days when you've got that many kids going through just, a couple of lines, they get to class, that's kind of their pass. They've got their second chance breakfast, their milk, their fruit, whatever it takes. And so that's their pass. We've also then added a minute extra into our third hour to allow for that little bit of coming into class late, and then that's when we do the announcements from the office, because that also allows the students to kind of come in, sit down, get their food eaten as we're doing that 1 minute of announcements there. Then we're going to go to our fourth hour, and then we're going to go to our Viking time. And our Viking time is going to be building-wide 7th and 8th graders. And it's going to be for 24 minutes because with our research and intervention time, about 25 to 30 minutes is what you need for effective intervention time. And so we're going to do that. This will give us the opportunity to offer enrichment and interventions for both our 7th and 8th graders so we can cross grade level. There are interventions in reading that 7th graders need, and 8th graders need the same ones. We can put them together and utilize our staff more efficiently. We had a lot of enrichment opportunities that I think our 7th and 8th graders would have benefited from, and so it will be nice to have a kind of a cross-grade level for our Viking time. Then we're going to go to lunch. Our lunch remains at 75 minutes. It is a little bit later start. We worked with Kate Cavis, and she has crunched all of her numbers like she does, because I know that this then adds time to her food service hours. But she said that would work and they would be able to get in and out at about the same time. So this year we went to our 3 lunch periods. It has been very effective. We don't have kids just trickling in throughout lunchtime. We have 3 set lunch periods to get them used to the high school. And then we're going to go to 6th hour, 7th hour, and we are going to finish our day with advisory. Advisory is going to be about 21 minutes. No longer called seminar, aligning a lot like the high school with their career and life planning class that they have taken and gone down to 40 minutes instead of a full 90-minute seminar time. And so we're going to do an advisory at the end of the day. So I want to talk a little bit about why we went with this schedule and then talk about advisory. So when you look at middle school, I know sometimes people think, well, what about block scheduling? I know a lot of you have middle schoolers. I think we have 4, and next year we'll have 5 board members with middle schoolers. And you know that the attention span of a 13, 14-year-old is not really a 90-minute block. So really that 46 minutes is about developmentally appropriate for our middle schoolers, and that's why we want to keep that type of schedule. We also want to keep it a consistent schedule. Like I said, the kids probably adapted a lot better than the adults. We kind of need routines, and we need to know where we're at. We're getting up there in age, some of us. It also aligns with our PEACE accreditation model. And, not you, Jill, not you. Because it helps us in meeting our goals of rigor and relevance and meeting the individual learning needs of our students, because we're using that data to make placements in our Viking time. And then lots of input from our stakeholders. I shared this with our site council last week and was able to get some input from them. I think what happens, I jokingly said, you know, Mr. Monahan, he went through the planning stage of, you know, looking at every possible and then made the move. We made the move, and now this schedule seems so much better in comparison. So people are like, whew, yes, this is a good move. So we have looked at some of the input from our stakeholders. Let's talk about middle school advisory programs. They've been around since the early 90s when middle schools really became popular, and we moved from the traditional junior high model to a middle school model. And so it's common sense that, of course, someone has done the research on it. It just shows that when students have a meaningful relationship with an adult, they're more likely to succeed academically, and that ties in with our district goals of what we want for our students. So really, what is it? You know, it's when we meet regularly. So you have that adult and that select group of students. They meet regularly during the school day. They are supported with academics and their social emotional needs. It's personalized to meet that, and then it develops that sense of community. So at the middle school, when they moved to Seaman Middle School, they developed the teaming concept, which brought our large 7th grade, our large 8th grade down into manageable teams, communities. And now this advisory is going to break that down even more. So within that team, those teachers are going to have advisories and have a smaller community yet of learners. It really promotes school connectedness. It's a way to get our kids involved. And when our kids are connected to school, they're going to have higher grades, higher test scores, lower dropout rates. It's just going to help all of our students, regardless of who they are. And it addresses our issues of community. It promotes open communication, and it improves our academic success when kids are connected to school. So some of the benefits are a strong academic program. We can help our students plan and prepare for the week ahead. We can help them with homework. We can get them adult help. Time management. Boy, is that a big deal at the middle level. All of a sudden they're trying to juggle a 7-period day, and how do they manage that time, and they're leaving for activities, and so how can we help them with that? And then how do they become self-advocates? Because again, you have 7 new teachers, and when you come from an elementary background where you're with that one teacher all day long and they know you've been sick for 3 days, well, they're going to help you. Now we need to take on some of that advocacy for our middle school students, and that advisor can help them with that. We can also navigate the social emotional issues of middle school. Boy, are they unique. I told the staff today, nobody ever says to us, man, I wish I could go back and do middle school again. You know, they'll talk about elementary school and say, oh, I miss nap time when I was in kindergarten, or I miss recess, or high school, oh my gosh, you know, the athletics, the clubs, the academics, you know, all of that. No one ever comes back and says, I wish I could do middle school again, because it's such an awkward time. And they are navigating through some really uncertain times. So having that advisor so we can teach them how to express their emotions. We can talk about shifting friendships, deal with conflict resolution, so that way it's a positive. We also can create that school culture. I mean, that is always what we're after. We want people to walk into Seaman Middle School and just feel like, this is a place I want to be. This is where I want my kids to be. This is where I would love to teach if I'm a visiting teacher. But we have to have a connected school culture and develop stewardship. When we talk about civic engagement, it's so much easier to do with an advisory group than it is to say, oh, we're going to do this in our 3rd hour class. But that advisory class can get together and they can come up with ideas on what they want to do to promote civic engagement. And then it's a safety net, a support structure, because you've just got that person that's your go-to person. Lots of communication. We strive to really improve communication at the middle school. It's a challenge because, again, they're going from 1 teacher to 7. And so trying to get that communication. But if you have a point that you can go to, that contact, and that's your advisory, that will help us with that communication. And then, as you saw in the previous presentation, our percentages at spring conferences are not much better than what the high school had with their 20%. And we'd love to see about 50% or even higher. So looking towards that student-led conferences and using our advisory. And so bringing all of that together, social, emotional, the academic, helping parents navigate the world of middle school as well. So what questions do you have for me as we look to this? Do you want me to go back to the schedule?
Any questions for anyone?
I just wanted to comment that I like what I'm hearing about the advisory period, that this reflects all of the information that I know I was hearing at the National School Board Conference, which is still addressing our social emotional learning, suicide prevention, the connectedness, the social engagement, school violence prevention. And you've touched on everything that was brought up as significant concerns that the districts across the nation are dealing with. So I'm very pleased with this.
Did I hear you say 7 students in each advisory group? Is that what you're looking at?
No, it'll be about 12 to 14, 15, probably. I wish we could have 7.
We're really excited about the time management skills.
Time management is a big skill.
So the advisory groups that the students are in, I guess, will be selected similar to what you do with the teams now, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And they will be with that same team. So it'll be if, like, the piranhas decide to do an activity during advisory, so they bring everyone together, they're not going to be pulling from different advisories. All the teachers, all that have piranhas in their advisory are going to be the same.
I don't know if attendance at parent-teacher conferences is something we need to strive for, because I know I didn't attend them once because I asked if you get credit for them, and you said no. But also because I have regular communication with the teachers, and so, I mean, it's actually a sign that things are going well, because you feel like you don't need a special meeting if you have a concern.
Right, and I think that has been a view of parent-teacher conferences for so many years, is we only meet because we have concerns. And I think changing that mindset to let's meet and hear from our child what they are excited about, what they're learning, because it's amazing how, like, our student showcase, those numbers are a lot higher because we get to see the artwork and we get to see the band perform and we get to see, you know, all those things. So I think, again, bringing that performance piece to conferences and getting away from that concerns, because
well, that's just both ways though. I think
yeah.
From teachers, both on positive and negative things. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Annie, did you give any thought to this? Is great. I love it. My issue, I think, originally was just the seminar stuff. The homework time isn't there now because they're filling their 4th hour or their 6th hour with this, which is fine. It's great, but I need like a 9th hour then to accommodate which is in the schedule.
So do I. It's called that one.
Yeah, exactly. But just a quick little question: is there any? Did you guys talk about any combination of the Viking advisory time as almost like an 8th hour? You clearly distinctively chosen to break them up.
We have, and there was a method to that madness, because this year when we tried to do some of that, like during seminar where we would do a social emotional lesson for the first 25 minutes, and then the last part was supposed to be some of that study time, it seemed like one was overlapping more with the other. Like maybe the lesson took too long and this was cut short, or some teachers were cutting this short so they would have more time for the seminar piece of it. So yes, this way we can truly focus on the interventions and enrichment during this time. And then the advisory time can just be truly focused on advisory. It also evens out the advisory, because Viking times, the enrollments are not equal. If we have an intervention class, we're going to have maybe 6 to 9 students in an intervention class getting, focused skill instruction. Whereas like our STEM class has almost 20 kids in it because it's an enrichment class. So advisory, we want it to be equal. And Viking time would also have cross grade levels. And we want advisories to be team and 1 grade level.
So a 7th grader or 8th grader now has 45 minutes-ish of 1 day a week seminar time, correct?
It's not full seminar, they'll do
because they're dividing it up with the other stuff.
Yeah,
that they use that day for the other things.
Right.
But let's just say on that one day you didn't have something else, it was, they could use that seminar time right now on Wednesday to go do whatever they need to do to catch up. Is that
Yes,
fair?
but none of our days have
Unlikely,
that yet.
okay.
Yeah.
But now they're going to, I mean, almost triple that, right?
Almost triple that. We'll be able to bring in our club meetings
great.
more regularly and really help with that time management piece.
Yeah.
So I described today, you know, a lot of our kids, they sit there and they literally spin. They might not physically, but you can tell they're going, I don't even know where to start. Like I have this assignment to do and I have this one to do and I don't know which one's the most important. So using that advisor to say, okay, let's prioritize. You know, this is due tomorrow. This is due on Thursday.
Right.
Yeah, so let's, you know, but sometimes they want to do this because
that's more fun.
Yeah, so yeah, just
Sure.
helping kids kind of manage that and get through that.
And I think that really sets them up. We're teaching them that this is when they learn it to carry them through high school and college. So helping them to be successful.
Thank you.
Sure.
Very good. Thanks, Amy.
Have you guys come on up. All right, we are putting in front of you a draft form of the Professional Development Council plan. We're at the end of a 5-year cycle. We have to resubmit a new plan to KSD. These two ladies are our district reps, Annette Meyer. She's our elementary rep or overseeing the process with PDC. And then Deion Parker, and she's our secretary, okay, representative. So they'll be here to answer any questions that I may or may not be able to answer. In the plan, you'll see all the changes for the upcoming 5-year plan in blue. A couple things that I wanted to highlight was the term micro-credentialing we added. We're not currently doing any micro-credentialing, but since this is a 5-year plan, this is something that's coming, and so we wanted to go ahead and add that verbiage. You'll also notice we changed the verbiage to represent the new Talent Ed Grow, which is the new program we'll be using for the future, so hopefully we caught all those in the manual. We will no longer be using my learning plan. So a couple different things to highlight. Does anybody have any questions? And we'll be asking to vote on this next month. Can we talk a little bit about the process and how this
That would be nice.
We have representatives from every building who sit on the Professional Development Council. We meet quarterly. These ladies organize that and set an agenda. And so that team representation, it also includes administrators from every building, come and meet, and we actually worked on they worked on this document all year long. At every meeting, revised and hashed out what gets points, what doesn't get points, all that good stuff. We'll be available for questions throughout.
You'd like to touch on Appendix A and go ahead and update how that's going to be?
Well, I think we're okay.
You're good on those
Yeah,
standards?
I think we're
Okay, very
yeah.
good. Thank you.
After further review, yep.
Good.
Any questions? Looks good.
Thank you.
All right, we'll bring it back next month. Thanks, guys.
Live streaming out.
No,
It's working.
it's working.
Keep saying that waiting on Terry tomorrow. They'll be waiting a while.
The next part is early graduation. We have, I believe it's 12 students who have expressed a desire to graduate by December. These students have met with their guidance counselor. They have mapped out a plan of study to ensure that all 25 credits and then some will have been completed. They have the support of their parents. You'll find that they have their parent notes as well in support of their decisions. So I'm submitting them for you to think about, and then I'll be asking for a vote next month. Any questions?
It's very long list. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Live stream may be having some trouble.
I I showed one person connected, but yeah.
Can we move forward?
Sure.
Okay, I want to start by thanking you, Mr. Henderson, for your advocacy at the federal level for IDEA with Senator Roberts and his reauthorization. I'm just really excited that we have so many in Seaman advocating for us at the federal level. So I want to say thank you for that. We appreciate it. Yeah. In my report, we've celebrated Autism Awareness. We're still doing it across the district, and you guys can see the way all of our schools are celebrating that. It's kind of exciting. And bringing awareness to our differences as well. We're celebrating our para-educators. We could not do business without them, so we're honoring them throughout the district, and some schools are also honoring them with Teacher Appreciation in May as well. Today we had a great day of learning. Many of our special education staff were a part of that, and we truly appreciate that as well. But what I'd like to talk about today in my report is I'd like to highlight the ever-changing needs of our students with special needs in our district, and actually our students without special needs. But first of all, 18 to 21, through IDEA we are through the law, we have to provide services for students on IEPs through the age of 21. We've been doing that in our district for years at the high school. And we've done it okay. It's worked for us, but we wanted to make sure that we really worked on the focus of why that was in IDEA. The focus for that, the purpose of that, was because of independent living skill development and vocational skill development. So are we really doing that in the best way we can do that? Small number of students, but we want to make sure they're career ready to go out there in the world. So we decided to we had an opportunity with a new opening at Pleasant Hill Learning Campus to, when we interviewed the gal that's taking that position, she has a background in alternative school instruction, and she also has a background in FACS, and she has a heart for 18 to 21. So we're kind of combining a couple of her responsibilities and creating an 18 to 21-year-old program that's focusing on independent living and vocational skills. These are kids that are already in our school district, we're already planning to stay. We just want to make sure that we're focusing their skills to where they need to be focused. So we're excited about that. Also, at the middle school, things are changing a little bit as we're shifting focus strategically for students with special needs in the area of social, emotional, and behavioral. And we're taking one of our teachers and our interrelated teachers that we already have, and we're strategically looking at those students that have social, emotional, and behavioral needs. And we're focusing a special education resource room related to those students so that we can focus on exactly what they need in those social emotional skills. We took a team out and we visited another school that has a similar program. We have in a couple of weeks a director that started a program in a different district that will help us kind of look at our space and look at what our needs are, look at what our students are, and help us guide ourselves through that process. But we're really excited about that, to be able to meet some of the ever-changing needs that we have within our district. So that's going to start next year as well with the staff that we have. And due to just a specific caseload of students that have those special needs. Do you have any other questions or anything about my report? I just wondered how many students we would expect to be in the special room at the middle school? Right now, I think there is a smaller number. A regular caseload is about 15 to 20 students. In this special room, it'll probably about 8, depending on what the needs are right now. But we see 8 right now.
And will they be in there all the time, or just for a certain period?
They will. It's a specialized resource room, so they will be provided service like they are in all the general education classrooms that we would normally put them in, or resource classes that we would normally put them in. But we would focus on behavioral being their goals, some academics as well, and we have a person available. Some students that have behavioral issues cycle through behavior sometimes, and they need a space to decompress and to have quiet, and that space will be available as well to them. But typically on a day they would have
A teacher that could focus on behavior that would help them co-teaching out in the classrooms with them, and or peers would focus on behavior as well, that would help those needs.
And apparently, they have a program very similar to this at Shawnee Heights.
They just started a program based on needs as well. Any other questions? Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Mr. Golder.
So at Northern Hills, we've got some, we had some limb damage from the wind that we've had here recently. Just showing you that. We've got, everything looks good now. Over at Rochester, we are almost complete. Finishing touches are left. Threw several photos in for, it'll be good enough.
What is left?
What is left? A little topsoil and a little seeding.
And the fence, will that come down?
Sticks.
Compact cars can still park there.
I see that.
Might be illegal stuff, sir.
Okay, making sure for the community.
Park and walk.
We know.
Walk the track.
Got it.
Right. Could turn into a four-wheeler park right now.
It's starting to look like it.
Seaman Education Center. So this building right here, we had some water coming in, so we had we did a little more tuck pointing to try and seal up the building. They power washed it to make sure it was done right. So far, so good.
Who did the tuck pointing?
Restoration. Over at Seaman Middle School, I don't know if anybody's walked that track recently or used the field over there, but the ADA ramps all but done. All the railing that's all remade. They do little connections, weld them all together, paint it again, and then it'll be finished. So we're dangerously close to cutting the ribbon on that. Seaman High School, showing you some athletic fields. So this is the baseball diamond. It was laser leveled this year, or late last year. How do you want to fall? So of course we're gonna have to recover that. We've added some organic material, compost, fertilizer, and overseeded it to try and do what we can. Ground temps are still pretty cool, but they're coming up for those who like to hunt mushrooms. Good buds for blooming. But we're coming up here. Soccer field, as you can see, it was still dormant. As of this one, as of that one, it's coming around, and if you were out there today, it's a lot greener. Fertilizing today as well. That's a view right out on our plant. So, transportation. The wind once again got a hold of our cover for salt and sand there, and the guys had to put it all back together. That thing's been on the ground a few times. And just want to show you that we received the picnic tables, which will be placed around the transportation department for social gatherings for the bus drivers. One thing I forgot to put in here, Seaman High School, just in case anybody calls, the elevator, north elevator, right now we've got a pump down on it, so if you guys get any phone calls about the elevator down, we've got a new motor on order, and we'll get it fixed as soon as we can. Any questions for me?
None. Thank you.
Good evening. I'll start with some bid this evening. This is for the Seaman High School Career and Life Planning Counseling area. We brought this to your attention, I believe, 2 months ago, put it on your radar. I received 5 bids. You can see those detailed below. Bid from Cindy Construction. Cindy has done multiple projects for us in recent years. We're very pleased with the work they do, and we recommend you approving their bid of $186,600.
Motion. Okay, moved by Mr. Patton, for the second. Second, Mr. Griffin. Any questions, discussion, comments on the council this week bid? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bid is approved.
Mr. Patton, I don't want to get you too excited that next month.
It's ready.
It's paper month. Something to look forward to. So my second item is the 4-5 plan which we presented at last month's meeting. Would entertain any questions that you have on it and ask for your approval.
We have a motion for approval of 4-5 as presented.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How can we have $20,000 in there for Rochester?
For whatever might happen there, don't know what could happen there. Hopefully nothing.
Why would anything want to happen there?
Well, somebody could drive through the fields, tear that track up. It could require a little bit of fixing up, and hopefully we don't touch a penny of that. But I'd rather have a little something in there in case something does happen there.
I'd just like to know more about the process on turf. I know that we have a task force that's meeting. I know that we have people who are really wanting something quickly, so I'd just like to talk a little bit
Well,
about the
I'll
plan.
tell you what we can do to be able to keep it in order is that the core 5 plan here, of course, as you know, it doesn't include the turf. So we can vote on it and get a second, and then we can have discussion.
Okay.
Because I want to be able to talk about the soccer turf concern. Okay?
Well, if it moves us towards that, then I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Sherry, do we have a second? Second by Fred. Okay. Any questions of Mr. Horton on this at this point in time, the 4-5 that he's presented?
One little tiny thing, there's no drama on this one, sorry. But it's about the vestibule at Pleasant Hill, there's no number there.
If there's not a number there, Mr. Adams, then that project is just on the radar, but not planned for action at this point in time. And you'll see
There's a couple of those,
you'll see a number of those in there where, again, we want to keep them on our radar, we want them on your radar, but they didn't.
I just picked that one over.
There were higher priority items, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Okay. At this point then, I want to talk about the turf issue. Last month, as we all know, we had parents that were very concerned and approached us about wanting to be able to turf the soccer field. Since that time, Mr. Monahan has met with some soccer parents, and I'd like to ask you to come with Mr. Monahan and talk to us about what's happening there, what has developed, what that communication looks like, what the plan is on that.
So we met last week, and we had a committee. It was our athletic director and myself, both the boys and girls soccer coach, and then parents that were representing both the girls soccer program and the boys soccer program. So we felt like it was a really good, cohesive group that could bring about different perspectives. And we wanted to look at the facilities going into next year. But we began with Mr. Dietz, our great historian and AD, telling about how the soccer program has evolved. You know, with parents being the driving force, district support, community support. What started as a field by the tennis courts has now become really a wonderful facility that we can be proud of, that has lights and concessions and places for the kids to, can be while they're playing the games, and just everything that you would hope for. And then from there, we talked about, in the time that I've been at Seaman, we've really tried to put the best coaching in place possible We were very fortunate to have a professional soccer player coaching both the boys and girls team, and that took an effort to make that happen. And then we have a college coach now, Mr. Collins. So we put the best coaches in place. You know, we love our soccer program. We want to support, you know, both our boys and girls teams. We all know the value of participation in athletics and what that does just across the board for kids. Not only the physical fitness, but just being a part of a team and all the good things that come from participation in athletics. And so then we looked at what would next year's soccer schedule look like for the boys and the girls if we just tried to play the games on the multi-purpose field, the football stadium field we call it, or at the middle school where there's turf. And with the boys program, all games but 3 could be played there. 3 would have to be played at the middle school. And there was just many inconveniences regarding practices and playing of games that was felt, you know, by the committee. And then we also looked at the girls' side. 2 years ago, by the way, we played every girls' game on the multipurpose complex because that field was being laser leveled and reseeded and getting that type of attention. We called it Thursday Night Lights, and we just had a lot of fun over there playing every game. So we looked at that, and what we really vetted that as a committee is that what we really want is a facility dedicated to soccer specifically. We were all in agreement there that it just seems to make sense that that current location is much more convenient in terms of practices. Everybody knows where to go, and communication and other things that occur. Splitting time with other programs and that type of thing, having to practice late. All those things were discussed. So one thing that we definitely came away with was we like having a facility dedicated to the soccer program. Then, you know, another thing that we came up is that we really feel that our students deserve a very well-maintained soccer field, soccer surface. And that was really consistent from throughout. In discussions, we did discover that 50% of the boys' games are played, or 8 on grass surfaces and 8 are on turf surfaces. And then when we look at the girls' program next year, we discovered that 37% of their games are played on a grass field, and then the remainder on a turf field. So we flushed some of those things out. So really in the end, what we came up with was, you know, whether the playing surface is grass or it is turf, that we want a consistent playing field for our soccer program. And that's pretty much a summary of the meeting that we had. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Hey, Mr. Mahan, were there some next steps discussed?
Not at this point. There is some discussion as far as what our options are. And we do have some ideas in mind to reach back out to the parents, but we haven't done so yet.
Any questions for Mr. Mahan?
The minutes of the meeting, by the way, were shared with all soccer families, so they had a chance to look at those.
Yeah, I'll share my thoughts then. Everybody's quiet. I appreciate all the work that you've done and how you've been diligent in reaching out to the soccer families and basically saying, how can we make this work? What is it we need for our students and all of that? So I commend you for that. And I think that's characteristic of this community, being able to work together and see what we can achieve and have great results. Gina, of course, has been extremely diligent, and she calls, she emails, she contacts people, and I don't know anybody that could be more diligent than she has been, to be honest with you, in trying to secure a good field for our students. And tonight she presented this check for $200,000 and some, and that doesn't happen every day, where someone will come up and say, here's $200,000 and some toward the cost of a soccer field. What I would like to see happen, other board members may agree or disagree, but I would like to see us explore that further, be able to, I would like our administration to be able to get some hard numbers in exactly if Mr. Farrant is bidding, that this is exactly what it's gonna cost. And for those that have said they're going to donate, to be able to have that in writing saying, this is what I will contribute toward that, so that we as a board then would be able to have a bottom line number that we would look at and know this is the number of what it would cost us. And then I would like our administration to be able to determine what options we may have to get that kind of money, whether it's taking some more from capital outlay, whether it's financing with the lease purchase or whatever, but that's what my thoughts are on this. Yes.
I'd be interested in taking it one step further to have a breakdown of what we would be looking at, turf versus grass over the course of the year. So I spent today talking to people who know athletic fields, and I understand there is a certain amount of maintenance that comes with the turf. I'd like to have that included in the numbers. I'd like to know, I know I'm not gonna make probably anyone happy. I don't think we can do this by the fall, but I guess I'd just be interested in continuing the process that you had already with the parents to just get some more numbers of what are we looking at, not just this year, but over the course of 10 years, so we can be more forward looking.
I agree with you, Christy. Looking at it, I mean, it's tremendous what has happened. I mean, you guys really lit a fire, and that's fantastic. And I absolutely see that there's going to be progress made and drastic improvements made, regardless of what surface we end up going. You've brought it to our attention, but we've only known about this for a month as a board, and it was not included in the core 5. And as absolutely stunning as the fundraising has been, it still leaves a $500,000 project that we still have to figure out how to fund. And I agree with Christy. I don't quite think we have the information that we need in order to be good stewards of the district's taxpayer dollars. I know that that's going to be devastating, especially to those who have, students that may only have 1-2 years left in high school. But we have to be, as a board, we have to look further down the line with that on what's the best path forward. And I appreciate everyone talking about, obviously there is a lot of passion, and I know how I'm very passionate about things that affect my own kiddo, so I want to let you know I don't say this glibly or lightly, but we do have to do our due diligence, and we have to look forward, and hopefully these businesses that were willing to support that this year, this is a long-term investment for them, so even if not this year, I would certainly hope that those that are really truly invested in the district would be willing to do something moving forward even a year from now.
I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with what you're saying or what Ms. Allen is saying. But I tend to side with Ms. Menser on this issue as far as the availability of that $239,000. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't. It is my belief and my belief only, and it is my interest to see turf on that field. The financing for it is our 7 problems. It's not those people out there, it's the 7 people here that make that decision. I am not 100% certain that there is an advocate in our community that's going to be as aggressive as Ms. Menser has been in raising this money. I honestly think, I've got a little bit of experience in construction, and I really think the timeline can fit before fall, but it has to start now. If that means administration gets us the requirements we're looking for, as far as securing the money, as far as finding out how we pay for it, I'm not opposed to a special board meeting to make that decision, to find that requirements. But like you, I too want to make certain that we know what we're getting into. I cannot announce more broadly am a huge turf supporter. I think it's multi-purpose functionality, benefits everyone. I was a little disgruntled as a board member, don't mind telling you. The football stadium at the high school was marked for a soccer field. I just don't see how that many activities can function on one field. I love the middle school football field. It's absolutely perfect for its intent. It's not going to work well to move soccer to the middle school, in my opinion. The traffic issues, so forth and so on. I've struggled with this for a long time. I've known about this for a lot longer than Mark, trust me. I have been trying to figure out how to fund it out of Core 5. There's nothing in Core 5 that I want to take away. We have opportunities. We have low bids coming. I think the information needs to be gathered. Can it happen that quickly? I can't tell you. But I would support that.
Since we're all chiming in, I would agree with the direction Mr. Henderson and Mr. Griffin indicate. Let's explore it. Let's figure out what it's going to cost us. Continue to work with Gina and others in the community to see what we can raise outside administration, figure out how we can fund it. If we can pull it off, great. The momentum's there now. If we're ever going to do turf, I hate to see us kicking it down a year or two down the road because that momentum may not be there. Can we do it? I don't know. But if we can, and that's the route we decided we want to go, then now seems to be the time to do it. But we need more information relatively quickly to be able to make that decision.
Can we put some,
Go ahead.
Can we put some timelines in place? Because I think one of the things that happened is these parents came in the fall and asked for something and some balls were dropped. And so I think we do owe it to people to say, we're going to have this information by this time, or just set out some things so we can be held accountable as we go about this process.
Certainly. I had conversation with Mr. Griffin last week about just in terms of construction time frame. Someone who's worked in construction, what kind of time were you estimating?
No, in my opinion, it's going to take a minimum of 8 to 11 weeks to complete this project.
8 to 11
Is that
weeks.
close?
Would you say that, Jake? Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we do fields and weather's cooperating 6 weeks. And are we allowed to speak openly now?
Yeah, I've asked you to.
I've
asked you to.
So all these questions that you guys are wanting, I mean, I've known about this for longer than a month. I've known about it for a year, and I've answered this question over and over again. The field's $631,000 from Kansas Turf, and we're knocking roughly $200,000 off that cost if you guys call another company. So if you match that discount that Kansas Turf's giving you with what she's already donated, you guys have an unbelievable opportunity right now, like right now. And we can get this field done for you, for your sports in the fall. We are a countrywide sports construction company. We would love to have our heavy equipment, our dozers right here at Seaman. And it would be easy to get done. But a lot of this information you guys are asking, I do these presentations every time. I'd love to come give you our slideshow presentation, take about 20 minutes. Same questions that everybody has across the country.
Yeah, I'm interested in, what I haven't seen is the ongoing cost of maintaining turf versus grass.
Sure.
So I've seen I've seen no maintenance cost to turf, which
Sure. And so school districts your size are spending about $300,000 to $400,000 every 10 years for a grass field, and that's your average return on dollar amounts per hour played. You times that by 300 when you go to turf. So you're investing $300,000 right now for that soccer field that was up on the slideshow for every 10 years, roughly, if you're doing it the right way.
But there's still maintenance costs on turf.
Yeah, and yeah, we provide that ways. It's already been provided, and we'd be happy to show you guys a presentation. Love to.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Noble. Well, I haven't weighed in on this yet.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've been like Keith. I kind of toss this thing around every which direction, and I know I talked to Gina a number of times about this. My daughter played on that soccer field. It was horrible then. And hopefully it's gotten better, but this program is kind of like the cross-country program and a few others, and I mentioned that to Dr. Noble earlier today, and FFA and a few others that we really don't put any money or attention to. And it's time we start changing some of that. Because we got kids in those programs that are trying to learn, trying to improve themselves, and trying to move forward. And soccer is becoming a more and more everyday activity in the United States. And I think it's taken us a long time to get there. That being said, I'm still stuck with the numbers, trying to make sure that I understand them all the way through. And it sounds very, very desirable to jump and do this, but I can't find the money here to make it happen. And I think we need a little more time to possibly make this happen. I'm on a side with the part that we need to take a little more study. Maybe we need to say, let's get some formal bids on some of this, so we know what we're actually looking at, to compare it to what Gina's got with those soft dollars, I'm going to call them, but to make this program work. And I'm tickled to death with what she's done. I told her that, and I trust that she's got this laid out. Thanks, Carl.
You all have a blocker number?
You already did.
Well, Mr. Adams, you're the only one that hasn't weighed in.
Yeah, so, sure. I've been doing this a while, especially with you and Fred. Long time talking about capital outlay stuff. And we dealt with Steve during baseball time. The iron's hot right now. It's what I'm embarrassed about, frankly, or a little frustrated about, if you can't tell. It's just process-wise, it just feels like here. And that should have been something we got ahead of, and I think we lost sight of that. And it's not a dig on administration by any means, but that rotating door of coaching we've got there has got to be fixed. When we asked for this during the bond, we don't want it, we don't need it, so we didn't do it. And I don't know why. We've got a community clearly that's dying to have it, but we just didn't do it, so we didn't have the...
Well, we didn't have that voice then.
We didn't have that voice then, exactly. And so to me, I don't know, we've done some things in the past that, as far as capital outlay goes, we've made things work. I think we've made things harder work, frankly. But, on one hand, I'm frustrated with, I don't like naysayers who are like, well, I'll donate now, but not next year. I could care less about soccer in a year from now. Well, then I don't want your money, frankly. If you're that opinionated about giving to us that it only matters now, then okay, keep it. So I'm frustrated with that a little bit, that sentiment. But having said that, they are willing to do it now, and I think we'd be silly to not take advantage of that, frankly. I mean, I don't want to say that's free money, but it takes a village anymore to run a school district. We all know that. And if there's any way we can get the kind of, I mean, look, there's a check sitting in the back room somewhere. That's never happened in my 10 years on this board. That seems like a kind of silly thing to turn our nose up to. But at the same time, I think the process still needs to be shoved into a short calendar if we're going to do this. And I think that's really all the district is probably, or the administrators are looking for. Facilities guys are nodding. Administration's probably nodding. Students probably want to know. I just need consensus. Does the board want me to proceed? If you do, we'll try to figure out how to make this happen. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't right now. I think eventually we will very likely need something out there. Eventually. I don't know if it's July. Yeah, I don't think that's what Sharon's saying either.
Looking at the numbers right now, it's like, how can we make it work when it wasn't introduced for 5?
We would have to look at something outside of Core 5.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we would have to do, because it's not a part of the Core 5 and wasn't a part of the Core 5 planning, which is already in place. So we'd have to look at some other ways.
And that's not that it couldn't be put in there for next year, for quarter five, and still be done this year. I mean, there's ways to work this stuff. So, and I would vote on the quarter five as it's presented, and not as it is.
And you'll have a chance to do that. Dr. Noble, in terms of a time frame that administration would need to be able to get some hard numbers, like formal bids to the district, be able to work with Gina and get some written commitments, and be able to come back to us with a bottom line number, as well as estimated maintenance costs, like Ms. Applehans had mentioned, what would be the time frame of which you can do that?
Much of what you're asking us to do is not completely and fully within our control, and so I can't completely speak on behalf of Gina and her group, but I'd like to sit down, if that's the direction of the board, and begin to lay that out pretty tightly. I've done a few of these kinds of items, both in foundation work and with school districts. What it seems like we may be entering into is a capital campaign for a specific project to get done. It might blend private donations with public dollars. If that could be systematically brought together, and we understand the goal in mind is to do this arm in arm, promoting it that way, selling it that way, I think we can absolutely have success doing it. But those kinds of things do take time so that this board can wrap their mind around something like that. The administration would be happy, I think, to enter into a capital campaign effort with our private donors and make that happen, if that's the direction the board wants to go. I'm sensing right now we're going to take a couple of weeks and just have some more discussions. And I can come back as soon as whenever the board wants to have a special board meeting and report back.
Okay, in a couple of weeks, could you have some numbers?
Can we, Gina?
What is it that you want me to have?
Hard numbers and commitments. I think Mr. Henderson mentioned
written
commitment
but
from
also,
the donors.
but also, Dr. Noble, formal bids from the turf companies, from Jake Durant and others, so we would actually have a formal bid with that document.
I think we can from this vendor here, who's in the room with us tonight.
Well, I know Gina had
I'd say that's possible.
a couple of others.
I'd say that's
So
possible.
if those could be formalized, that might be a step there.
Let me ask this question, if you don't mind, do all the contractors work under your tutelage, or are they independent to the school board?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's what separates us from a lot of people. We have our own concrete crews, we have our own excavating equipment, we have our own turf install crews, so everybody is under our 110 employee umbrella. Therefore, we can control the process. That's okay. Yeah, that's an excellent question.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Should I ask Mr. Deeds a question? Or I have a question, I'm not sure who's the best person to answer.
Sure, Mr. Deach, you want to?
I'm just interested in what other sports have we had the players and parents go into a capital campaign agreement. So an interesting thing about soccer is I actually played on the first team at Seaman, and it was only here the school board refused to fund the coach on that. And I remember that well because my dad was on the school board, and the parents raised the money to pay the coach's salary for the first soccer team. So it sometimes seems that soccer is maybe treated different than other sports. So I'd just be interested in hearing what other sports have a capital campaign like this.
I know of none that have had anything. We've had a lot of parent involvement, probably more so with soccer than any other sport. Baseball and probably is right up there with soccer. I know baseball raised money with signs in the outfield and helped out to put lights on the field. Soccer did a very similar thing to put lights on the field. But as far as what you're talking about now with both groups coming together, I can't remember anything done with the magnitude of what you're discussing right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All our publicly thank Dr. Noble for his plan to move forward with the grass field. I was and still am, possibly still, fully in support of the grass field. I think he and Mr. Golder and Mr. Horton put together a good plan to realize better grass. But that is not the feeling that I'm getting from this community that they want to know. So, thank you, Dr. Noble, for your plan, and I appreciate everything you've done. But I guess I would join Mr. Henderson's request to go over that.
We'll get to work on that right away, and I'll be in regular communication with the board president, and special meetings in order to the president will call it.
Good.
Good.
Sounds like we can get some numbers in.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, board.
Motion to approve, floor 5.
Okay, can I make a comment though first? I just want to correct, just make sure everybody's on the same page here. So if you go, you have the core 5 in front of you or not, the district as it stands right now has one, we mentioned using lease agreements possibly to, lease purchase agreements to fund the difference between the actual cost of the project and any fundraising that happens outside of the district. The district currently is involved with one such agreement. That was before my time down here, and I'm guessing several of you will remember this. It was about $1 million project to put HVAC at Seaman High School. And it was entered into, it was a 10-year agreement. It was entered into, I believe, about 6 years ago. So there are 4 remaining payments on that lease purchase on the Seaman High School HVAC unit. It's item number, and so the reason I bring this up is it is incorporated into the core 5. So if you are going to consider doing a lease purchase for a turf soccer field, there's no, I can't think of it, in my 10-second thoughts aren't always very good ones admittedly, but I can't see a way around, if we're talking about having it ready next August, I can't see a way around some sort of a lease purchase agreement. Many of you have mentioned you don't see $500,000, $600,000 in there. I don't either.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was the question I was going to ask you about. How do we go about doing that, and do we do that like a Silver Lake Bank, or who does the lease?
Our current payment, our current payments go to a security bank in Kansas City. My short answer, Carl, is I don't know.
Right.
I've never gone down that road before. All it would take is a few phone calls, however, to find out what that process looks like.
I know U.S. Bank does that.
Yeah, and I would prefer it be local, but I can just tell you right now, those payments go to a security bank in Kansas City.
I'm just going to speak from experience. When we at the fire department, when we bought junior fire trucks at over $1 million, we got bids from U.S. Bank, Silver Lake Bank, Fort First, here locally, and then an outfit out of Manhattan, which does strictly government type lease purchases.
Another question / concern I have that maybe Jake can alleviate for me. Jake, has that gone through a cooperative bid process? Are you guys in one of those cooperative groups?
Yeah, we have we're on Greenbush now.
So if not, we can't just say, Jake, you're going to come in and do this. I mean, we're well over $20,000, and then that makes the process even longer. Another concern to take on is, when we did the baseball field, that was architecturally. I'm thinking back to some of the most recent projects we've done where the board wanted an architectural stamp on things. I'm just throwing that out there that adds time and it adds money, if that's the direction that we have to go. But that's probably another question that we could sit down and.
That's a part of our, Dan Holloway out of Topeka, CFC, and it's part of that process.
So the reason I bring all this up is I think it may, if we're going to could possibly be having a special board meeting anyway, I would recommend we put the core 5 on hold this evening, because if you're going to go the lease purchase route, it's going to affect this. There's no way around it. Now, and I don't know how terms work on this, and again, the air conditioning was a 10-year project, so if you're going to have
let's just go really big, let's say it's $1 million project at the soccer field, and you spread that out over 10 years, you're talking about $120,000 a year, maybe a little more than that. That's obviously a little easier to stomach than trying to figure out where you're going to come up with $600,000-$700,000.
When I talked to Frank about this earlier today, I guess for me to approve it, that initial year payment, we're going to have raised. And so if we spread it out over however long, because I don't want to adjust the 2019, 2020. You guys have put too much work into it.
That's why I say I was
can't find anything,
but
I think we've got the first year at least. Potentially, we can come up with the money before it's due.
I can tell you, we already saved over $100,000 on the first project for Core 5. And that's at the council's center in the school.
Not quite. You got some soft costs there that aren't figured in.
Still, that's a 30% difference.
And about 70,000. And that's assuming that project doesn't need any additional funding.
He says there's soft costs associated.
So, Mr. Horton, you're a business guy,
What, vote of confidence, Mr.?
Yeah, completely.
Sound like a question?
Yeah. Okay, so what Mr. Patton indicated was that we should be able to get perhaps the first year or so paid with the fundraising money before we put it into the Core 5. Is that?
Not knowing what the fundraising looks like. If it's possible, yeah, I don't.
Okay.
It's like a standard 7%.
Right, but if it was $150,000, would that enable us to not have to put that in the Core 5 now, or?
And then pick it up in the subsequent year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know why it wouldn't.
Okay. All right.
And that number, I'm guessing that number's high. Yeah. 50, right? 100 might be high.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other question, Mr. Horton?
I have a different understanding of the Core 5. I thought it was just more of a guide as opposed to something we're locking ourselves into.
Good question. So when you vote, you're voting on that first year column.
Okay.
Correct.
So you're voting on 2019, 2020. Now that being said, there are some ongoing costs, and that's what that top chunk is. So for instance, line 4 is we can't stop making the HVAC lease purchase payments. That isn't the guide. We're making those payments, so I'm going to jail. And I'm too pretty for jail. So I'm not going there. The other one would be the tech lease, number 5. Once we commit to that, those are 4 or 5 year leases, so those payments are being made. There's no wiggle on those. Yeah. But you're right in the sense that those two are really the exception. Everything else in there is just kind of a ballpark kind of figure. And like Carl mentioned earlier, yes, I do estimate those all a little on the high side. I don't want to come to you and say, I budgeted $200,000 for the counseling center. It's going to be about $230,000, $250,000. Are you okay with that? I'd rather those be a little bit high. So you can only beg for forgiveness so many times. So.
I might also point out, I think it's important to note line 21 in your spreadsheet, number 8 under committed expenses. Field tour track replacement fund, the board sets aside $75,000 annually for our existing turf and track. Not only is there some maintenance costs in just raking it and the rubber and cleaning it, etc. annually. I think this gets to Ms. Applehands' question, but there's also, you have to begin to set aside and plan to relay that new carpet in 10 years. And so you can't just assume that not having your grass maintenance that goes away. Now that kind of gets poured into setting aside money to replace your carpet in 10 years.
We've done that every year.
Yeah.
With the football.
So that will go up.
Now we'll need to do that for soccer.
And I guess that is one. Either that number is going to have to go higher because now you go to a 4th turf field. I personally, I won't be around when the next one has to be replaced more than likely, but I would not be comfortable in my office knowing that we're putting in $75,000 a year to replace 4 fields every 10 years. It's not, the math doesn't add up.
Right.
Now, you could also, and this gets into issuing debt, and that's a whole other issue, but, you know, we were pretty much in a perpetual technology lease. I mean, I don't see that ever going away. If you wanted to, we could enter into a perpetual field turf lease purchase, and that's how you fund adding this one and then replacing others as you move forward. But again, you're taking on debt, and you are the stewards of the taxpayers' money, and I don't need to remind you of that. So that would be the issue.
Any other comments, questions, Mr. Horton? Thank you, sir.
I'm not done. I got one more.
Oh.
Yeah.
You have one more.
I got to sit down for quite a while, so
Well, we have-
I'm rested. I'm rested. and ready.
Okay, your one more is the next
Oh,
item.
but are you gonna? So what's the?
No, we haven't.
What's the? Yeah. So what's?
Yeah,
Are we done with core
have a
five?
motion and a second on the core 5 plan as it is presented, as it was presented last month as well. So calling for the question, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, seeing none, the motion carries, core 5 is approved. Okay, now consider facility use policy.
That came last month with that, and had some concern, very reasonable concerns about what would have been, I believe, item 14 last month. So going back to the drawing board and revisiting some things, we've taken the proposed item 14 out from last month, which said baseball and softball practice that uses any types of bats or balls is prohibited on all district football fields. We would strike that and replace it with a new item 14, which says patrons must follow all posted rules of use at each district facility. And what that primarily addresses is the difference in language as it pertains to baseball, softball at Seaman High School versus Seaman Middle Field, or Seaman Middle School. And I believe there is a significant difference between those two facilities just based on the amount of traffic that they see. From our patrons, not from kids, no. So would take questions, if not, ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Moved by Keith.
Second.
Second by Sherry. She's quick. Okay, any other questions, comments on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Facility use policy is approved. Thank you, Bob.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next, consider building administrator contracts. You have the administrators before you and where they are located. I just need a motion to renew their contracts. So moved by Fred.
Second.
Second by James. Comments, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, contracts are approved. Next item is executive session for negotiations. Did you say? Okay, so Carl makes a motion to go into executive session to discuss negotiation items pursuant to exception for employee-employee negotiations under coma, and opening meeting will resume in the boardroom He said yes, that's it, meeting adjourned.